You have those like amazing rides throughout the year. You know the ones I'm talking about, where your body feels good, like the bike feels like it's working just right, the group dynamic is just right. I've had a handful of those this year, and today I want to talk about 3 of my favorites that took place on 3 different bikes in 3 vastly different places. We'll start with number 3, and here in California we had a record snowfall this year, which resulted in a never-ending spring season, which meant total confusion about whether to bring a bike or skis and a snowboard to Mammoth, or all 3. This ride started at about 7,000 feet and topped at a little over 9,000 feet. On the way, we encountered 30-foot snow walls as the plows had yet to clear the road all the way to Yosemite National Park via the Tioga Pass entrance. In fact, we eventually reached the end of the road just below Ellery Lake and just a couple miles shy of the park entrance. For this particular ride, I opted for the Crux with the Reserve 4044s, 40mm Continental Terra speed tires, and 48/35 chainrings with a 1036 cassette. This has been kind of my go-to travel setup, and with the uncertainty surrounding the road conditions as they cleared the roads up Tioga Pass, this seemed like just the right bike. Number 2 was definitely the longest ride or race of the year at 201 miles, and it was wild. It started in Utah, crossed state lines into Idaho, and finished in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. On this particular day, I spent 70 miles solo after some confusion around mile 75. I was in what I thought was the chase group, and I attempted a solo break to catch them. I was solo from mile 75 until 118, then kind of surfed groups until around mile 165, where I attempted another break to catch the leaders, only to be caught at mile 193 by the group that I had left. The reality was that the group split early, and I was chasing the chase group after our friends David and Glenn launched an attack that stuck from mile 55 all the way to mile 201 to go 1-2 in the race. That's pretty dang impressive, guys. I played a lot of mental chess that day, exhausted from the time solo, exhausted from the win, but grateful to be riding my bike in one of the most beautiful places in the United States. For LOTOJA, I opted for the new Tarmac SL8 with Enve 4.5s and 28mm Vittoria Corsa Pros, 48/35 chainrings with a 1033 cassette. If I didn't love the SL8 before, I loved it after spending 9 hours and 35 minutes straight riding it. It's such a freaking gem. The most memorable day of the year for me was when I had a chance to climb Col Du Galibier in France. Now there are days where everything seems to be firing, and day 6 of our France trip was that day for me. We started the day by climbing Lassets, then Col du Telegraphe, Col Du Galibier, and ended with Col du Granon. A solid 74-mile day with over 12,000 feet of climbing. And that's on the heels of 285 miles and nearly 40,000 feet of climbing in the previous 5 days. But I digress. For me, the standout that day was Galibier. Like most of the climbs in the Alps, you start in this beautiful valley that make you feel like you're an extra in the sound of music. But the beauty's deceptive, right? Like it tries to take your mind off the fact that you've been climbing for 11 miles straight. As you get towards the top of the climb, you start to see those big rocks that look like they've been deposited by a glacier. And then you see snow walls as you reach the summit. In my particular case, I was with my friend Jordan, the same one who accompanied me on the Tioga Pass ride. Thanks, Jordan. And we could see our friend Patrick off in the distance chugging away. And if you know Patrick, he's like the perfect climber, right? He's like 135 pounds and he's got his 12-pound ethos that he's riding. We set out to catch him, working as hard as we possibly could, and we finally caught him as we approached the top, where we were once again surrounded by walls of snow at around 8,500 feet. We grabbed lunch at the top, I grabbed my camera and snapped a few of my favorite photos from the trip while eating a tortilla with ham, cheese, olive oil, and chips. It's fantastic. That day I was riding the Tarmac SL7 with the Reserve 4044s with 30mm Vittoria Corsa Pros and 48/35 chainrings with the 1033 cassette. The SL7 to this day is the bike that I'm most familiar with, and while I don't own it any longer, I have nothing but fond memories of my time with it. It's my favorite bike of all time. I'm gonna go as far as to say that I think this will go down as one of the best road bikes of the decade. I think it's just fantastic. So as I wrap up 2023, I wanted to share these 3 memorable days because personally, they're a great reminder of just how much fun riding a bike can be, at least for me. Whether you're leaving out of your garage for a quick spin, racing, or traveling across the world to explore a new place, it's the experiences, it's the constant movement of the pedals, the friendships, the bonds, the conversations, that time spent in your head sorting out the problems of the day, and ultimately that smile that riding puts on your face. That's what it's all about. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting, for liking, for choosing to spend your time with me. It means the world to me. Anyways, Happy New Year. I think 2024 is gonna be the best year yet. Till next time.